Welcome to more Spring Championship of Online Poker 2012 goodness. It's been a fantastic festival of poker, as it is every year. 40 events, 30 million guaranteed dollars, which we're well on the way to smashing. Event 17 is $2,100 no limit hold'em 10 max shootout. 150k guaranteed. The entries were capped at 100. We filled that up. 200,000 prize pool and 60,000 first prize. Now, if you want some big name poker, well, I can hook you up. If you have a look around the table, we'll introduce them all as we get to them, but kind of household names of online poker. If you follow the online poker scene, not impossible that you'll know all these players at this final table. A couple of Team PokerStars pros, Eugene Katcheloff and Jay Thaddeus, Jude Ainsworth, there to the left of the screen. So this is a shootout format. All of these players have had to win a one table to get to this final one table. And we'll jump into the action on the very first hand, Jacks versus Tens. The Tens belong to Human, who's a high-stakes cash-to-game player. You may know him from there. And the Jacks belong to W Coupe bracelet winner Jason Wheeler, JDTJ Poker. And he's 3-bet, which seems reasonable. Back on Human with the Tens. Playing 100 big blind poker, and Human will flat call. And nasty flop for Human. One of those flops where it looks like a perfect flop for him. We can see that he's in a whole world of trouble. Bet and a call. Just over 1,200 as we head to the turn. Queen of Clubs sees Human check. And a pot controlling check behind from JDTJ. And bingo on the river for Human. He makes the full house. Catches one of the two winning cards in the deck. And makes a big bet. Tough for JDTJ Poker, but he does get away from it. Nice fold from him. One of those spots where probably isn't getting bluffed too often like that. And maybe a spot where a lesser player would have paid off, but he makes the fold. Human will be your early chip leader. Hand 16 and Monster Dong will open raise. The tremendously named Australian player who's a regular in W Coupes and Scoops. Always seems to do extremely well. Another final table for him. It's going to get a whole bunch of folds for this double the big blind open. Sean Deeb at this final table. I'm sure you know Sean. If you've been following his progress in the scoop, you'll be impressed. This final table has jumped him to the head of the point standings, overtaking Isildur in the player of the series standings. Has already won a scoop 2K stud event earlier in this series. Fun flop here. Nut flush draw for JDTJ. And Monster Dong's queen still in front. See how JDTJ wants to play this. Monster Dong will most certainly be trying to make money here. He does decide to check. Well, that is gin for both players. It doesn't work like that. JDTJ makes his hand, but is crushed by Monster's full house. Bet and a call. On the turn, 10 of diamonds completes the board. Every reason for JDTJ to think he's ahead, and he does try and get paid on the river. Monster Doll makes the big raise. And for the second time at this final table, JDTJ has a difficult river decision to make. I think he's pretty much bluff catching here now. Not too many hands you get value raised with that he can beat, and he does get out of the way. So another nice fold from him. Amazing turn card, that one. Tough to make both players' hands, and well, a lesser player might not be in this tournament, but there aren't really lesser players at this final table. Incredibly high quality tournament all around, and really amazing final table to boot. Jay Thaddeus, Jude Ainsworth, the Team PokerStars Pro, who of course won the Scoop in 2009. One of the best final tables we've ever covered on PokerStars TV. Do check it out if you get an idle half an hour and you haven't seen it. Amazing level of aggression at that final table. Worth watching. And Jude came out the winner. He's been flat called here by Southern CT Owl and Monsters in as well. So 3 players to the flop. And Jay Thaddeus with the only diamond. Top pair for the other two. There's some equity percentages for you. Those percentages do always take into account folded cards. So that's their actual chances of winning the pot from here. Now, Jay Thaddeus has an interesting decision. He does have the diamond draw. He does also have 2 opponents. So he'll start by betting. Southern CTL will call, and Monster Dong, who would have thought that he had a decent chance of having the best hand here, now doesn't like it so much and gets out of the way. Solid fold from him, out of position against a couple of opponents. And Jude will hit the diamond on the turn. And he'll check it. Southern CTL will check back. We're just under 1,000 chips in the middle. And the case jack arrives. Someone play the case jack sample. We've got no sound effects. I do apologise. I keep lobbying for a soundboard. They won't let me have one. It's limited vision, I think, from them. Jay Thaddeus will check again, using all his trappy deceptive powers to try and make some money here. Southern CTL, as you can see, does have the trips. That jack on the river only really making a difference if Jude had a bigger pair, and Southern CTL does bet, gets called. And a nice pot for Jude Ainsworth, the Team PokerStars Pro, up to 6,700. He will be your chip leader right now. Still a full table in hand at 105. Not quite as deep stacked as some of the other Scoop events. They start with 100 big blinds, so maybe a slight surprise that they're still 10-handed, 100 hands in. Bet and a 3-bet, very aggressive 3-bet from Southern CTL with King Jack in second position at a 10-handed table. Southern CTL is Andrew Bardecker. Won a WSOP bracelet last summer. And he's putting the pressure on here. However, JDTJ, Jason Wheeler, has the goods. And not impossible that JDTJ will flat call here. because he is out of position and he is deep stacked and he would have a lot of deception, but decides to take the more standard line and 4-bet. Now, Southern CTL is, well, his 3-bet communicates a stronger hand than King Jack in that position, so up to him whether he continues to tell that story. He does, in a big way. Well, guess he figured there isn't enough room to make another small raise, so decides to make the all-in shove to try and get a fold. But this has got to go down as a little bit of a misstep. Although both of them are so aggressive, it happens a lot at this level. JDTJ with the big hand, but good flop for Southern CTL. Flops the straight draw and hits it on the turn. Doesn't even have the decency to wait until the river. Oh, and Jack on the river is the redraw. So a split pot after all that. Looked like TJ was going to get unlucky. But Southern CTL got unlucky, I guess. On to hand 110. Mr. Clout opens under the gun with Ace-Jack and is quickly 3-bet by J. Thaddeus with the Ace-King. And we've got a cooler on our hands, people. Queens for Southern CT. Left off the owl bit. Just slightly too long for me to raise the necessary energy. He has the 2 queens, and you'd have thought, given how aggressive these two are, we've already had a raise and a re-raise. The money may very well go in here. Wizzo folds. Monster folds. This is going to get back to J. Thaddeus eventually, I promise. Ace-Jack is usually not good when you get a 3 and 4 bet behind you, so Mr. Clout can make the fold. And I think if you had 2 much less aggressive players here, the money would probably be going in. With these 2, I think it's almost certain. There's the all-in from Southern CTL. J. Thaddeus will call and we'll have a big flip. Important flip. Even though we're 10-handed, one of these players is going to double up. Southern CTL is all in. J. Thaddeus will be crippled if he doesn't connect here. The Queen's still winning. 7 of spades doesn't change that. Ace or King needed for Jude to get out of this, and it's not going to come for him. Big pot for Southern CTL. Looked like he was going to be out of the tournament when he had that King Jack. Now you're a substantial chip leader. And just a few hands later, J. Thaddeus would leave the tournament. The Irish superstar and Team PokerStars Pro has to settle for 10th place after losing that big flip. Gotta win your flips. $5,500 for him, and we're 9-handed. This is hand 126 of this superstar-filled final table. Ace-King offsuit all over the place. This time, Monster has it. He needs it as well. A little bit short-stacked. Playing 50-100 with an ante. And Mr. Clout has the pocket tens. Mr. Clout is a tournament regular, 12th place in the PokerStars MTT leaderboard in 2011. Knows his way around a tournament table. Clockwise, I believe. He's put the pressure on Monster Dong here, but Monster started this hand with 28 big blinds and has Ace-King, so I think we all know what's coming next. Wizzo will fold. And Monster Dong will put his money in. Mr. Clout committed to calling here, and we'll see another flip, this time for Monster Dong's tournament life. Tens with the slight edge, And no help for the ace-king. Well, that's a little bit of help. Mr. Clout can't hit a set now. But the 5 of clubs secures the win. And he's up over 9,000. Monster Dong hits the rail. 9th place for the talented Australian player. Sure, we'll see him at another big final table soon. $6,400 for him, leaving these 8 players. Southern CTL with a chip lead. And over the next few hands, he will continue to chip up. 14,000 going to hand 140. Big spread of stacks all the way down to Sean Deeb, who is your short stack right now. Playing 50, 100 in hand 141. And so just under 24 big blinds for Sean. Flat call with the jacks from AS 1025 and another cooler. We're seeing a lot of big hands being dealt on this highlight show. Mr. Clout will apply the pressure with 2 red kings. If you recognise the screen name AS 1025, well, he made 4 scoop final tables last year. Knows his way around a scoop. Does seem to have a liking for this festival. Not sure he'll have a massive liking for this situation. He's flat called with the jacks and has, well, started this hand with 44 big blinds. Trying to decide what he wants to do. We've all been here with pocket jacks. So many situations where there's no good option. Well, there's a good option. What a fold that is. He'll enjoy watching that back on the highlight show. Not many players get away with jacks against kings and losing, well, what did he lose? 2 big blinds. Pretty sweet. That's how you make lots of scoop final tables with that kind of talent. 60, 120 other blinds in hand, 154. And Humans opened it up with 9s, JDTJ. Flat calls with the suited ace-queen and position. And you'd imagine everyone else will be getting out the way here. And we saw these 2 tangle early on in this final table. Pretty decent flop for the pocket 9s. And Human will fire away. Flat call from JDTJ. And he connects on the turn. Now, Human might well just give this up. So hard to play these medium pairs out of position post-flop. 6 makes both of them a full house. Human thinking about this one. 1,500 in the middle. And he will try and eke out some value on this river. We know that JDTJ has got the goods, and that bet is music to his eyes. Could be music to his ears if he was just listening for the bet sound, I guess. He makes the raise, and Human can only really beat a bluff here. Has the decision, has a full house, but knows it's no good. Nice fold from him. JDTJ gets a little bit of revenge on Human for that earlier pot, and they're almost equal in chips. This is hand 157 of this final table, 8-handed. And we're yet to see Sean Deeb in action. Just over 20 big blinds left for Sean. And 6-5 offsuit is not what you want to be monkeying around with that kind of stack. Human will open on the button. And him and JDTJ are going to go to war again. This is a great spot for JDTJ with a real hand, because Human will certainly know that he's going to 3-bet him quite a lot here. Button versus small blind. And Human's thinking about it right now. He's going to 4-bet a decent amount of the time, and he does decide to do it. Unluckily for him, he's running into a real hand. Easy shove for JDTJ. Human has to give it up. So these two going at it pretty regularly. And so far, JDTJ has the better of the exchanges, up to over 7,000. Hand 161. Just Monster Dong and Jay Thaddeus having left us so far. Several well-known players left in this tournament. Just a reminder that this is a shootout format, so everybody at this final table won a single table. Effectively a sit-and-go type table. Winner moves on, everyone else goes home or goes on to the next scoop event. This isn't winner takes all, of course. Everybody's is paid for making it this far. 8th place is guaranteed $7,500. The winner, $60,000. Southern CTL has opened this pot. And Team PokerStars Pro, Eugene Kachelov from the Ukraine will flat call. Has one of those funky kind of stacks, sort of 30 big blind range. And draws for everybody. Open-ended straight draw for Kachelov, nut flush draw for Southern CTL. Kachelov checks. And Southern CT will bet. Now, does Kachelov play this fast or just decide to call and see the turn? It's option B. Let's see who's first to make their draw. Well, that's how you get to be a Team PokerStars Pro. Got to make your draws quickly. Kachelov with the straight on the turn. The nuts, no less. Now, Southern CT will know he's been called on the flop. And unlikely to get a fold with the 9 of spades. So he'll take a free card and try and improve his hand on the river. And that's a bingo. 8 of diamonds vaults him to the lead in this pot. Not with the nuts, no. 9-10 of diamonds would be the nuts, for those of you who like a nuts call in their commentary. It's the effective nuts, though. And well, look at this. Big overbet. He's asking Kachelov to play for all his chips. You've got to love it. And Kachelov will call. So Southern CTL making the super aggressive shove, trying to make it look like a bluff. Kachelov does make the call. Understandable with the straight. And gets the bad news that he's been value bet to the max there. Kachelov out in 8th, $7,500 for him. And Southern CTL, who was in position to go out of this tournament very early on, all in with the King-Jack, now a reasonably dominant chip leader with just under 17,000 chips. Wizzo has opened, as you can see, with kings. Human just flat calls with the ace-queen. Respect the under-the-gun open. 7-handed, and Southern CTL can see a flop with a connected hand. It's the king's cracker, isn't it? No, it's not. Not on this occasion. Top pair for human. If one of the other two kings comes, of course, he can make a straight. Wizzo does have the best hand, though. Southern CTL unlikely to win this one. He checks. Wizzo checks. And human would be justified in thinking he's ahead here. Top pair is a good hand where I come from. And he will fire. Southern CTL folds. And Wizzo just calls. 1,700 and change in the middle. 3 of spades. Oh, Southern CTL would have made a pair. Yeah. Can't win if you fold, can you? That's the lesson. Human will still think that he could have the best hand here. He's getting into weird territory with his stack. 1,785, and he's got just under 2 pot-sized bets left, but will bet again. Plenty of worst hands he could get called by here. Wizzo is calling with the best hand. We know this. 3,200 and a bit in the middle. Wizzo's kings still in front. Does human think he can get paid often enough by worse on this river to make another value bet? Wizzo almost certainly set himself on a check call line all the way. Important decision for human. We can see the one he should make, but of course it's not that easy when you don't know what the other guy's got. If the other guy's got king queen, well, you've probably missed a value bet. As it is, he decides to check it down, and he'll be relieved he did. Wizzo with the kings wins a nice pot. Leaves human a little bit short stacked. Sean Deeb and human both around about the 20 big blind mark. This is hand 166. Eliminations have been hard to come by at this final table. They didn't start super deep stacked, however, as with all the scoop tournaments, the blind's going up very slowly. It has meant there's been play for a while here. Southern CTL will open the button. Wizzo, who tops the PokerStars leaderboard in 2011. Really strong tournament player. And he'll stay aggressive with the 3-bet. And what do you do with ace-8 offsuit if you're 3-bet by a top tournament player? 4-bet, of course. It's mandatory. Both these players, in fact almost everybody at this final table, more than capable of getting into pre-flop levelling wars. Does Wizzo want to take this to the next level? He does not. Would have been a decent chunk of his stack, and didn't do the maths, but might even be close to committing him. Decides to fold, and one of those fun spots where actually the 4-bet aggressor had the best hand, even though he's kind of bluffing, but they say off, I guess. Over the next few hands, Wizzo would chip back up. Just over 9,000 for him, but as you can see, Southern CTL, dominant chip lead. It's been that way for a little while now. This is hand 190, still 7 of them left vying for the title. 80-160 is the blind level. Luckily, my 16 times table is one of my best times tables, so dividing stacks will not be a problem here. AS 1025 has 15 big blinds, just under 16. There you go. Told you, it's easy. And he folds the pocket fives. Interesting decision. Can't have been a million miles away from putting the money in there. Sean Deeb is short stacked and will put the money in. Ace-Jack good enough to go with. Sean hasn't found too many spots at this final table to get involved, been handcuffed by his stack. If he could see the cards, he'd be screaming for a call. A7 for Wizzo Wizzo. And Sean's stack, and this is a simple maths calculation for Wizzo Wizzo. We'll figure out Sean's range, figure out what it costs to call, and decides he has to make the call. Not in good shape, but he's not the one that's all in. And he's hit his 7. Unlucky for Sean Deeb. Can get out of this with a 9 or a jack. Needs to catch this river, but does not. Sean Deeb, who's having a fantastic scoop, is done in 7th. $8,800 for him, and a lot more leaderboard points. He is at the head of the Player of the Series leaderboard as we play this event. I won't give him too much comfort right now. I've wanted to take this one down, but has to be content with 7th, and leaves us playing 6 max for the title. Mr. Clout with Ace, King of Diamonds will open this up, and we haven't had a big flip for a while, so let's have one now. Wizzo Wizzo folds, AS 1025 folds, and it would be surprising if Mr. Clout decided to play this slowly. Starts the hand with quick. Someone do 160 into 7200 plus 320. Anyone? He decides to make the 4 bet. This is going to be a little dance, but I think the money's going in. Yeah, the all-in from Southern CT Owl. And we're going to have an important flip in the context of this final table. A lot of money in the middle. Southern CT Owl's got plenty of chips left behind. Mr. Clout is the all-in player. A jack would make Mr. Clout a winning straight. Ace, King or Jack needed, or Southern CT Cow's going to win another big one, and that's what happens. 4 of spades doesn't change anything. Southern CT Cow with a monster stack now. Mr. Clout out in 6th place. The Spanish player takes home $11,000, and we're 5-handed with a dominant chip leader. Southern CT Owl with more than 50% of the chips in play, and 5 players left. Nice position to be in, to say the least. This is hand 198. JDTJ opens things up. AS 1025. One of the short stacks shoves with King Queen and will get called, and is the underdog here. So another all-in pot. AS 1025 needs to connect. Interesting flop. Open-ended straight draw for him, but a flush draw for his opponent. 9 makes the straight, so just need to fade this river to double up, and he does. Trip 9's no good for JDTJ. AS 1025 gets back in this tournament. Needed that in a big way. Hand 211, still 5-handed. 80, 160 is still the blind level. Couple of short stacks, as you can see. Human and JDTJ, after losing that hand, both short stacked. Human will open with the 8s. Potentially a nice situation for him. As we've seen, he's going to be opening a ton of buttons. Would actually like to be played back at here, I think, with a hand this strong and with his stack so short. And that's what happens. Perfectly standard move from Southern CT Owl, I think, given his aggressive opponent and the stack sizes. But Human's got it in good here. Needs these 8s to hold up. Southern CT Owl's been hard to beat in showdowns in this final table. It's going to be hard to beat again. Hits his gut shot on the turn to make a straight. King of Diamonds changes nothing, and Human is out the door. Southern CT Owl over the 30 grand mark. Unstoppable right now in this tournament. Human from Romania makes $14,000 for 5th. And we're 4-handed. And, well, the result of this one looks inevitable, doesn't it? Southern CTL is winning everything. Playing that fatal combination. Good, strong, aggressive poker with cards when it matters. Bad spot in hand 217 for AS 1025. Makes a standard shove from the big blind with a pocket pair. Wizzo has the pocket pair. In capitals, bold, underlined. Aces to the flop. AS 25 very unlucky to run into a bigger pair here. Oh, and catches the 5. We've seen some fun turn cards at this final table. Several reversals of fortune on the turn. And AS 25 wriggles free again. Twice he's been all in. But he is now in second place. Well, to make up for it, Wizzo gets the aces again. Let's see if he can get them home this time. JDTJ with the shove with pocket 4s. Wizzo makes an easy call. And JDTJ will be all in. Trying to repeat AS 25's trick of finding an out. Well, it's going to be tough now. Set for Wizzo on the flop. JDTJ Poker's race is run. He has a W Coupe bracelet to his name. He's not going to add a scoop title here, but a very respectable 4th spot and just under $20,000 for him. We're going to be 3-handed at this final table. Here's how they got here. You can see Southern CTL's final table from that big pot he won many hands ago. It's only really been going in one direction. But we've been here before, haven't we, at final tables? He's got a ton of the chips, but there are no guarantees. It can change in a couple of hands. This could well be a blind war. 2 big hands for these 2 good players. 3-handed in the blinds. 3-bet from Southern CTL. AS 1025 with the decision, and he will shove. He knows that Southern CTL is going to be 3-betting him really wide. Does actually have a big hand, a pair of 10s. This is a flip for AS 25's tournament. Good flop for the 10s. It's a whole new tournament if AS 1025 can connect here, but it's going to be tough now. He can actually catch a heart to get out of this. 6 of spades is a blank. Southern CTL looks absolutely unstoppable at this final table. AS 1025 out in 3rd. Gave us some really good poker. Remember that great fold with jacks when his opponent had kings behind him. But 3rd place is all it amounts to for the Russian Federation player. $27,000. Leaves us heads up. Looks like this is just a formality, doesn't it? Might be now. Just because of how Southern CTL's been running. And it continues. He hits 2 pairs. Opponent hits top pair, heads up. Pretty amazing run. This final table went very slowly for a lot of hands, but Southern CTL has just taken over. He gets check raised. Now, how does he play it here? It's a very dry board. The temptation is to call because his opponent could be bluffing a decent amount of the time, but he's going to stay aggressive. Same logic applies. He knows that his raise looks like it could be a bluff a decent amount of the time, the board being so dry. Horrible spot for Wizzo. Out of a position against an aggressive opponent. Heads up with top pair. Makes another small raise. This is a dream come true for Southern CTL. With top 2. He can taste the title. You don't actually get anything to eat. You get a ton of money. You can spend it on pies and stuff. Southern CTL with top 2 puts the money in. Wizzo can't fold. He will call. He'll get the bad news that he's dominated here. This looks like Southern CTL's title. It's looked like that for some time. Wizzo does have spades working. Interesting turn card. Can catch a 4. Can catch a spade. 7 of diamonds is a blank. Southern CTL scoops the remainder of the 50,000 chips. He's knocked out a ton of his opponents and really crushed this final table. Good aggressive play from him and the cards when it mattered. Southern CTL is your champion in Event 17. He wins $60,000 and has the status and prestige of beating an elite final table to win this one. Household names from 1 through to 10, Wizzo Wizzo in second, AS 1025 rounds off your podium. A really high quality final table and a super dominant winner. Andrew Bardecker, Southern CTL, is the champ of this one. The Scoop is going off like gangbusters with smashing guarantees left and right. I hope you're enjoying watching these highlight shows as much as I'm enjoying bringing them to you. Hope you're getting involved and playing. The Scoop structures are the best. Lots more from this festival coming up for you, building towards that big main event. For now, from everyone at PokerStars.tv, I'm Nick Wealthall. You take lots of care.